feel
Morning,
bad
people.
because. Good morning.
It's 4 a.m. here.
Morning, evening,
I woke
afternoon.
up early.
Now, Naz, if you're gonna crap out halfway through, I'm not doing any more 11 p.m. shows. I'm putting that out there right now.
if you hear if you hear snoring, that means I'm down.
Later than this would be fine, but it's just good it's a Sunday morning.
We were gonna do it later because Sam's over, down
Oh,
under as well. Except, he's got this little small thing, like a baby coming today or something. But
yeah.
whatever.
Okay.
Well, next week it'll be earlier. We're gonna have a special guest that I'll announce at the end of the show or towards the end of the
Mm,
show that lives over in the general overall region that Naz and Dex live in. So it'll be 7 or 8 their time zone. Once
mm-hmm.
I confirm later this week on when he's available.
Is that like 7 hours before now?
It would be one to
About an
two
hour or
hours.
two
Yeah.
earlier.
So if it's 4 a.m. there
Man.
now, it would be somewhere between 2 or 3 a.m. So you might have to catch the recorded show.
So you'd be
Well,
staying up rather than waking up early.
no. Well, for me, like, I usually start work at about 4:30 in the morning, so like, waking
Oh.
up early is fine, but like, go to sleep, like, staying awake for me is harder than waking up
Mm-hmm.
early.
Yeah, I'm the same. That's why
I
I did
agree.
that first row at 4 in the morning. It's like 10 o'clock. Nah, I'll just get up at 4 a.m.
Yeah, it's much easier.
Well, I got up at 04:30 yesterday and then go to bed till 02:30 this morning. So then I woke up a little after 0600 and I was like, nope, and then went back to bed until about 1000. And then I just woke up from a nap about a half hour ago.
Naps. Uh, I can't do it.
Can't nap either.
I used to, I used to do it all the time. I could never stay awake a full day, but now I can never not stay awake a full day.
Yeah.
Right. Grab all these questions. If you have questions that you want us to discuss, super duper helpful if you pop them into the Brain Drain channel. That way we can, like, so we don't forget about them. Also, I can, go back and snag some of the info. And the typical reminder, don't be messaging any staff or anybody else without their permission. It's all about consent here, folks.
Yeah. We have a rule on our server that like don't message admins and especially don't message Peter because you'll get banned.
Well, that's kind of how I
Like
feel here. If you message Peter, people, on the 70AC Discord, you will get banned. No, no, I'm just kidding. If you message me, you will get blocked. You will 100% get blocked, and I have no remorse for it. New members like to
no,
join and message
none.
right away, and once in a while they'll sneak through because we have a non-related Discord in common. That I'm like, oh,
Mhm,
I'll leave this open because no one here knows me, and that
mhm.
doesn't work out. I had
Right.
someone join here who's also on the Valheim Discord that I'm on, and decided that it
Oh,
was
it's
their
so
it
annoying.
was their entitled right to direct message me when my
Mhm.
message says DMs are off. Use the support channels. So then, I told him, and he's like, I have every right to DM you. And I'm like, you're blocked.
Mhm.
I have little tolerance for bullshit. I don't call you at home when you're sitting down to eat dinner and discuss nonsense with you.
We have a ticketing system. Like we use
Oh,
ticket
oh, you
join.
find your players if they DM you? I love that idea. Oh, wait, that's not what
Oh
you
man,
meant.
I get really angry. Like I internalize the anger and I just politely say I copy paste the rule and I say you have been warned and here's the channel to make a ticket
Do
and
you,
that's it.
do you eat your anger?
Yes, I
Yeah.
have to because like on the main server, like I'm not the server owner. I'm an admin, and I own another server. So it's mostly the people on the server I admin for. They're the ones that DM me.
Well, I literally mean,
So,
you instead of yelling at them or responding in a way that is suitable, do you literally just stuff your face with food? That's what I mean by eat your anger.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I think I need to go treat myself to a dessert after this. I have an ice cream stand at the
Right.
corner of my street, and it is the most ungood thing for me. So I'm in Philly, for people who do not know, and we have what's called water ice. Um, Other places might have what's called Italian ice or Polish ice, which is a frozen dessert you eat with a spoon, but it's not like completely frozen. Um, and If you Google Rita's Italian Ice, then you'll see what I'm talking about. But the ice cream stand at the corner of my street also sells this in various flavors. So there's one strawberry lemonade that I have an addiction to.
Mm.
So if the line's not too long because I hate waiting in the queue, then I will go get me one. But if not, I will walk the few hundred feet back to my house and be sad and just have some more soda. More Pepsi or Coke or something. Eh. Is Sai up yet? Doesn't look like Sai's stirring yet. Give it a couple more minutes.
Dex is with us.
Hello.
Holy shit, he's here.
Hello. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
This is the first weekend in weeks that I've actually got a bit of chill out time.
Nice.
How's
thought
the
I'd
move
join you
going?
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, good. Now I'm just trying to sort out internet. I'm on a wireless, like a complicated or a Wi-Fi extended network, which is terrible. So I can't really play games. So I'm looking at getting a mesh network.
I was just going to suggest a mesh over the Wi-Fi extension.
Yeah.
I have a mesh at home here, but
Oh, we heard that
might
about you.
might
You
make
need to clean up more.
I suggest PoE access points around your house.
Problem is, it's not my house.
That is
So
a problem.
yeah. So I
You
can't
You could
just.
use long-range access points and just set them up on a pole next to the route. Have like 4 of them, one in each direction.
And then I need
was-
to. Then the problem comes in trying to convince my missus that it's okay to have cables all over the place.
No,
Okay,
you just have it at
so
the router.
well, wait a minute. We have a solution for this. Over here in the U.S., and I'm sure you guys have something comparable. We have what's called a company called Wiremold, and what they do is they make raceway that mounts to the wall so that you can run wires through. Now, it's not the prettiest thing, but it's paintable. So if you paint it to the color of your wall and place it just above your baseboard, it's hardly noticeable. So it's made by the company Legrand. So that might be an option if you check your electrical supply stores or your home improvement stores. They may have something like that. They have metal, they have plastic, and it's great for just hiding the wires and just painting it the same color as your wall, and then eventually you won't notice it.
Yeah.
Like when I
Don't
ripped.
tell my
Mm-hmm.
don't tell my landlord, but I drilled a tiny little hole under the radiator so you can't see it, and I just use the hole to pass cables through.
Good.
Sneaky.
When I eventually take down my walls for my rehab, right now drywall is pretty expensive. Plywood is even more. But I'm going to run Cat 6 throughout the house. So my living room will have probably 4 ports. My dining room will have 2 to 4 ports. My kitchen will have some ports. And then all the bedrooms will have a bunch of ports as well.
Nice.
Got to be wired up. There was a house
Yeah.
on my block that sold recently for 410,000 USD, and I'm like, what? I'm like, I need to fix my house up, and then I can sell it for maybe 390 or 380, and be like, all right. After I pay off the home equity line of credit, I will have quite a bit to put down on a new house, maybe with a garage.
Is 400 expensive?
Okay, so all new construction in my neighborhood starts at a minimum of 500,000. More in the neighborhood of 525 and up.
I'm in Seattle, so that is so damn cheap. I'm like, oh, 400.
Well,
God, I
okay,
would love
right.
to buy
Well,
a house
here,
that cheap.
okay. So here's the thing. I live in a twin.
900 is about really what you're gonna find around here.
I live in a twin. So 2 houses together, alleyways on both sides, and a little bit of backyards in a major
Mm.
city. Now there's other areas of the city that are just complete row homes. You have a block of a street, and there's a house. You know, they're all connected, and you got the 2 corner properties, and usually a little driveway behind there, just so you can get to the back of your house. You know, those go for a little bit less because they're a row home. Now my area isn't. It's always been a nice area. We have a lot of from New York moving down here and taking the train every morning. So they'll make Manhattan money and live in Philadelphia where the cost of living is much lower. So now all these developers are ruining my neighborhood with their ugly architecture that does not suit the neighborhood, and all these new houses are going up at a minimum of $500,000. So what you have out there for like $1 million would probably be like a $2 to $3 million house out here. Just because
You
of
really don't know
space
where
and
I
stuff.
live.
Well, okay, so first off, you're in or near Seattle, which is, you know, you have Microsoft and whatever other tech company that there, which is almost the equivalent,
Amazon,
right?
T-Mobile.
Right, which is the, you know, the Washington equivalent of Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
So it's all overpriced there.
Oh yeah.
So
Like if you can find any land for less than $500,000 around here, you're doing good.
right, so
We don't even care about the houses. It's all about the land.
right, so about 3 years ago, maybe 4 by now, my next door neighbor I shared the area with passed away. He had no family here. He had a little bit of family back in Poland, where he's from. But all he had was his daughter-in-law. His son passed away. His wife passed away. It was just him. So she sold the house to contractors. They fixed it up and flipped it for $270,000. Now this was like 3 to 4 years ago. Now same block, a little bit further down, same 100th block, sold for over $400,000. So that's how much the market has increased in my neighborhood of value in just a few short years. There's no regentrification, there's no revitalization, it's just new construction going up, causing property values to go up. Which is good until I have to pay property tax. Which mine isn't too bad compared to other places, like in the suburbs, but at the same token, the city's ripping me off. Let's see, what time is it? It is almost quarter after, and I guess Sai is not making it, or will pop in later. That's why I didn't set a time until we heard back from him. I don't know if he ever did or not.
I think he said he was going to try to get up.
Okay. All right.
Is Smegzer a part of this Discord?
He is in the Discord. I did invite him quite some time ago. Let's see. He's currently yellow, so he's probably either chomping away at something or sleeping. Because it is, well, hold on. He's down.
He's New Zealand.
He's New Zealand, so it is it's
At
about
7?
6 p.m. there, I think. I think they're 14 hours ahead of me. So
I think
I
no, they're
think
close
they're the
to me.
AM.
Yeah, it's AM. They're
Oh,
like
right,
5 or
AM.
6 hours after me.
Right, I'm looking at it. I went 26 instead of just 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like 6 a.m. there, give or take.
He's pretty responsive, but I've never seen him in voice.
He doesn't stop in voice. I've actually talked to him on my old TeamSpeak server. He was helping me out at one point, but most people don't pop up in voice. Like Trekkin's here, Stompy's here. I think I've seen Stompy reply once. OC has his own channel for server tools now. That was a recent addition. Jax hasn't said anything. High Hope's been quiet recently. Caddis spoke, I don't know if it was last show or 2 shows ago. He briefly was on here. Prisma was on here observing last week.
Had it was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. And TSBX I think might have been the same show where he just he didn't pop on voice, but he in the chat. Now
Oh, he was on the first one.
First one, okay, yeah, because TSBX and Stompy are both over, both admins over on Guppy's Discord. In fact, TSBX is the secret behind the power. He really does all the Discord stuff, and Guppy's like, just make it happen. I don't want to know. So I guess we'll get down to actual business now. Let's see.
Maps, and more maps. We got lots of maps questions.
Karma is our map expert today.
Oh, pff, yeah.
I
In the sense that, hey, I installed KingGen, and ooh, that's kind of fun. Okay, great, cool, I'm done.
Well, I mean, we could start off talking about nitrogen, which was a great tool for the years that it was active.
Yeah.
But from my understanding,
No,
Damocles is actually done now. Like, he was just popping up at each new alpha, but now I heard that he's done. One of the guys over on Guppy's Discord tried to reach out and has yet to hear back, and I know it's been a few weeks.
I
Last time we
literally just
used it,
started using it in Alpha 19.
Nitrogen?
Yeah.
I've played with the basic stuff. I haven't gone too terribly deeply into like custom maps and whatnot.
the last two maps we used on Nitro, like, completely broke it. Like,
Yeah.
spawning way too many custom POIs. Like, players going there spawning 100 zombies in one place.
What
It was just terrible.
is that on 19.5 or previous?
We tried it on 4 and 5 and it had the same result. It was just broken and the world was. It just wasn't very good. We tried the new one. What's it called? The King Gen.
Mhm.
It's a very interesting map. Like all the POIs, like they're either raised up or they're down, and it has like sharp edges and it has ramps like between the POIs. It looks really cool, but it's not smooth. But it's a very interesting map to look at.
And that's
So
once you get inside of it, right?
Sorry.
You were saying that the POIs are kind of generating oddly on the terrain once you're in the map.
Yeah, they're generating level with the ground, but the ground is going up or down to meet the POI, not the other way around.
Okay.
So
I
yeah,
generated a couple maps, but I didn't actually log into it because I've got a different map running on my server right now.
yeah, I've used nitrogen for a few alphas. It was a great tool while it was kept
Mhm.
up. It was fun. I really loved the highway option that it had. So
Yeah.
you could put, giant highways going across the map, and I thought it was great, especially with the addition of vehicles in A17. So does King Gen have that option for highways?
I didn't see any
No,
highways.
it
No.
doesn't.
Not yet.
All right, so if you are the author of King Gen, which I think is King something, and you hear this, we need highways, because we're all
Highways,
switching
please.
over to your tool.
Not broken ones though. Ones that are actually completed that you can drive on without having to
The
jump.
I would like
option of that. I
option.
like the broken. I like the broken highways myself. My players had a fun time kind of rebuilding them up, so that was always a good project for them to work on.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
I
then they
like.
get reset.
Mm.
Mm,
I do like that King Gen has the option where, in order to get the burnt and the wasteland biomes, you don't have to have the craters. I really like that that was actually incorporated to the regular map rather than having the craters.
Yeah, I played with it once for about 5 minutes just to see how it generated a map and what it looked like. So I haven't had time to dig down, and like I said last show, I'm not actually running any servers right now. I am hosting flooded servers, and I know he just did I think he just generated a map with King Gen, 12K, I think it was, and I kind of like went 12K. Are you sure? I mean, that's an awfully big map. I mean, believe me, I love big maps. I wish I could do a
Mhm.
30K map. You
Oh,
know,
back in 16.
yeah, right. But
Yeah.
back
I
that's
considered doing it for Alpha 19, but I was like, I'm gonna look at the Steam hardware survey and see what it says about players with 8 GB of RAM, and yeah, it's
I can't play
no.
anything
not
It
like
does,
yeah.
10 and above. I had so many, like when I switched over to a 10K map, I had a lot of players that weren't able to even load onto it just because it just took up too many resources for them.
Oh, Karma, make a note to address map sizes for next week with our special guest. Um, I want his thoughts on that because I know he has some larger maps that he uses. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, who here has used King Gen on the regular? Peter said you've used it.
Yeah, we've used it for 2 wipes now, and I use it on my PvP server.
Same.
So
Do either of you guys do your custom maps, like make your own biomes and stuff?
Biomes is scheduled for the next wipe. Height maps, not yet, because I'm still too dumb for that, but we've pretty much settled biomes right now.
I'm in the same boat. I want to get messing with height maps, but I haven't quite figured it out yet.
And that's the one with the grayscale
Yeah.
Yeah.
PNG, right?
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was I know that you can. Ooh, how do I
okay,
explain
so
this?
if you guys go into our modding facts, not to cut you off, Karma, but
Sure.
the second link is DTM tutorial. That will teach you how to do your very own custom maps, including the height map. So if
I was
you
tagged in that. Now that doesn't actually tell you which modding tool that you're supposed to be using with that.
I know that
Is it?
I
well
think it,
that's building a map from scratch, I believe. It's
I
not
think you could use like any kind of image editor, like
Photoshop.
Photoshop or GIMP.
Mhm.
Yeah, just there should be the color scheme in there so it matches up the biomes. So it'll tell you like what color for which biome. And that is a little bit older, and I think that might have been done before they took out all the biomes, whatever, and consolidated. So, but all the information is still good, and especially I know there's height maps in there, and the original link that was given to me, it got taken down. So I guess he got tired of hosting it or whatever. But I had downloaded it so I could host it on one of my domains. So this way we have it available for everybody. We should probably put that directly on the 70AC
Mm.
website for download because again I don't know if there's an official forum post for it, but I remember I got that from one of the guys over in Guppy's Discord. I just don't remember which one at this time because it's been a while.
I think I was watching. Sorry to interrupt. I think I was watching this King Jin how to draw a height map the other day.
Yeah, Dex has
Yeah.
posted some tutorials in the brain drain channel.
Yeah. They
Because
actually
typically for the
really.
height maps just have to be the grayscale, right? So you could like go to Google Maps, and I've seen people where they take real world maps and use that as a basis for their maps. Has anybody done that?
No. Sounds cool though.
Yeah, no, there's certain map making tools like real world stuff that you can use, and they have grayscale options. So I've seen people do that, or you could actually just take like a topography map and then take it into Photoshop and switch it over to a grayscale.
Well, from what I remember seeing from a grayscale map, to me, and I could have been looking at the wrong file, but it just looks like different versions of gray clouds that are just
Yeah.
overlapping.
Hmm.
So to me, I don't know how that actually translate into a height map.
It's an
Yeah,
extrusion.
Magic.
Basically, it's black and white, and the gray in between. So, for example, black would be like the very bottom of the world, and white would be like the very top of the world, and that's where the terrain goes depending on what shade of grey it is. If it's
Yeah.
closer to black, it'll be lower down, or if it's closer to white, it'll be higher up.
I thought Guppy did a tutorial on that once. I
He
swear to God, I saw
he
somebody do
he
that.
may have. I don't. I remember he was working with height maps a couple of years ago, so he
Yeah,
might have. I mean, do we
it was
have
pretty easy.
his YouTube channel linked to the site, Naz?
Who's that?
Guppy's YouTube channel?
Uh,
I don't think so.
I don't think we have his YouTube. We have his
Discord.
Discord.
What we might need to do is add a menu for YouTube's and just a main menu, put YouTube and then just Guppy, Zith, ours on top of course. But that might be helpful for people to be able to find different resources for the modding and the mapping and stuff like that.
Yeah, should be able to do that.
All right. What questions do we have in the Brain Drain channel?
Libby had a couple. She had, I think we've kind of covered it. Which map generator do we think works best for 7 days right now? Clearly, King Gen works better. Although I'm wondering with the nitrogen, I rarely ever ran the compo packs with it because I didn't want my players to have to download the separate stuff. So
Didn't have to.
yeah, so I would imagine that it still works fine as long as you're not trying to utilize the compo pack.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Do you think they will still work effectively in 820? As long as King Gen is still around, I'm pretty sure he'll update it to 820. But the reports we've been getting have been 820 is having some serious work done on the RWG. So
There lots and lots and lots of work on RWG. So I haven't kicked off 20 and done a seed yet, but yeah.
is it available for the QAs to test out?
Yeah, I have access to it.
Okay. So that's
usually I let Cy be the one driving this one. I'm like, I forget what they have talked about, but they have talked about. They did a post recently on the new downtown zones, so they're kind of discussing that. But yeah, RWG is getting lots of love.
Yeah, I did see that on the Twitter that they posted, and I'm excited for that.
I don't want to get nixed.
Yeah, no. I did see they did post it about the downtown area. I am excited to see that. You know, I would love to say I'm hugely excited for Alpha 20, but being let down so much in the past, I'm curiously optimistic. Like, I like to see, again, goes back to show me more than just the pretty pictures, but, you know, knowing that they're working on RWG, and I do believe they said that this was the last time, this is what they're focusing on, is to fix the RWG so they don't have to mess with it in the future.
Yeah, it's getting a lot of love.
And then there was a result that the map generation through the actual game was supposed to take approximately a minute per K. So an 8K map would take about 8 minutes for the game to generate, which kind of blows my mind because if you do that from the tools menu, why is it taking so long? Because you're not actually running the game, you're just running the editor. But, you know, maybe that'll be a refinement later on down the line with some optimizations in beta.
My thought, and this is just a guess, but I've had chats with like Alan and some of the other folks about why is nitrogen so fast and great, and why is the one that we have suck? And there was some conversation there. I don't know that the game is ever going to be as good as something that is a standalone and just focuses on that. So as long as we've got tools like nitrogen or now going forward KingGen, I think that still might be the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to have the game using up the resources, especially if it's. I'm not saying 8 minutes for an 8K map is bad, but in nitrogen it was less than. It was approximately 3 minutes on my machine.
Yeah,
so,
rather than 40 minutes in game.
Oh my god,
terrible.
right. And for so long, if you were running a Linux server, forget generating an RWG map. Forget it. It would not work.
Yeah, I think it was Alpha 18 where they introduced GPU acceleration for map generation, but it didn't work for servers, so they reverted to doing it over the CPU, and it took like 20 times as long to do it on a server than it did to just do it on the client and then just upload it.
Weren't they supposed to get Vulkan working? Have they done that yet? Are they still messing with that?
I think it's experimental.
The whole game's experimental.
Like it's
way.
been. I think it was like it's like some kind of check box thing, like expose Vulkan functionality, but it's like I don't think they've done much work on actually getting it to work. The last time I tried it, it made the world, everything was just pink.
Yeah, it's not necessarily good, but hopefully a lot of this stuff will get figured out in beta. I don't know how many more alphas they plan on doing before they start calling it beta. I mean, it's been 8 years. Well, 8 years December. So, we'll see. I mean, what else do we got about maps here?
Libby had also asked about did that be effective with day 20? Easiest way to back up.
I don't
Well,
want
that
to get
one's
backups
different.
yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you create a height map and have the RWG layout towns on the train that you have created? That one is a good question.
I think you can with nitrogen. I don't know how, but I think I know that it's. I think I've heard that it can be done that way.
Mhm.
For Kingjin, I have no clue.
King Gen I think is a little too new with us have not explored it yet. So our info on that is a little lax at the moment. Maybe we can readdress it, in a future show when we've had more time to play with it and more development has come from it. I mean,
Mhm.
it does look like a good replacement for nitrogen. I don't quite think, in some aspects, it's where nitrogen is, but it exceeds nitrogen in other aspects. So
Yeah.
we'll just have to wait to see what path that it takes and what feedback. Is it King Win or King Gen that does it?
Kingslayer GM.
King Slayer. So when he or she decides to, maybe put out some ideas like where they intend to go with it, then we'll have a better idea.
Well, in lieu of that question, do you know of any seeds that are more islandy?
On Kinggen or regular RWG?
Either. To be honest with you, I used a couple of the seed names that I found on the internet on KingGen, and they seem to do the same thing that they would do on RWG.
I found in those tools, if you have the same seed name and you're able to generate 10 maps, I don't think what I have would necessarily work for you because there's so many other variables. Like, do I want my cities to be large or small? Do I want the grids to be big or small? So, has anybody else found that having an actual seed, like, it doesn't react the same as when you put a seed into the regular generator? So, like, if I have a great seed, I might not get the same map twice in a row anyway.
Well, you should, depending. Now, if you are
On the
generating,
map generators?
it should, yeah, because it should be using a similar algorithm to what the game uses.
I'll
Uh,
generate 10
Is it-
maps with the same name and all the other same parameters, and it will come up with wildly different maps.
really,
So,
that's
yeah.
interesting.
I'd say maybe if like all the settings for like city size and stuff are exactly the same and you use the same seed, maybe, but then there's that option for like generate 10 maps,
Yeah,
and
they're
those are
different.
that those will yeah, those will all use the same settings, and it comes out with 10 different maps. So
Mhm.
There's,
I don't think so.
I would bet if you click that option, that it probably changes your base seed a little bit for each new generation. So there's
In the King
probably
Gen, it doesn't even keep your name in the folders like
no.
Nitrogen did. That was
Uh,
the
That's
weird part.
annoying.
Yeah, you can accidentally write over a good map if you're not paying attention. Oops.
You have to do one at a time. It's super annoying.
See there. So then, would this tie in, do you think, with the other question? I think it was, who wrote that? Judge. Or Judge.
Judge.
Judge. About
he
the
he
zero
doesn't like the
zero.
he only likes one vowel and that's E,
No vowels
but he has an E.
for opening things. But the
Um,
question about the zero zero causing problems. What zero zero has been coming up for like ever for random weirdness. What specifically?
I think there was an issue like relating to RWG back in Alpha 16 where they had a lot of trouble because the further away from 00 you got,
Oh,
the
the
more your
stutters.
your character shakes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I remember
But
the jiggers.
yeah.
But that
the
was on the
I
round
think
maps.
I think the one of the problems with 00 and Zipcore talked about it in a previous episode was having another player with a wire tool, and when there's a land claim at 00, it can cause issues. And to avoid that, you can use something like a if you're using CPM, you can use an advanced claim to prevent LAN claims from being placed there. I don't know. Botman, I think, has something similar you could do.
Okay, that's really what I was asking. Can I place a trader-like claim around 0, 0 to keep people from messing with it?
Yeah, with CPM, it's super simple to do that.
Yeah, you can put an
Maybe I haven't hit
advanced.
that problem.
You can put an advanced claim down there, and do it as like a 0.1 to 0.2, and just have a certain area around 0, 0, depending how far you want to go out, and just put what's named as a normal claim, which is a protection claim. That if you go in there, you get teleported out. So if you think you feel you should need to do that to save errors, I would definitely do that.
So what are the symptoms that people are getting when somebody puts a land claim at 0, 0?
It
For others.
spams the console with errors, and it causes a lot of lag.
That's strange.
Do you feel that the people that are doing this are doing it on purpose?
I wouldn't necessarily say yes. I just think they're like, oh, well, this might be a decent spot to set down. I mean, I'm sure there's a small percentage that might be doing it just to be douchebags. But I think for the most part, I think it's like, God,
I don't think it's like a common thing players know about that can cause issues. So I think a lot of the time it's just, I'm gonna put a land claim on 0, 0 just because, I don't know, it satisfies my OCD or whatever to do that.
well, you got to remember in previous alphas, 0, 0 always was a giant city.
Yep.
You know, so it's like 0, 0 city, let's go there. Or I spawn somewhere, let me check my map for 0, 0. That's where I'm going to go because I know there's a city. So hopefully that'll be fixed in A20, especially with all the work they're doing. So hopefully it's something we just got to deal with for a little bit longer, and probably 6 to 8 months till A20 comes out.
Wow.
I have no idea when it's coming out.
It'll be done when it's done, in the infamous words of Mayor Mole.
Yes, done when it's done. They're still quite busy doing stuff, and lots of builds are coming out for 20, but...
Yeah, like what I'm more excited to see when 20 comes out is the new buildings, new POIs. You know, and as I always complain, a lot less dungeon crawls and more of how it used to be. It's like, oh, here's a building, and oh, I can go through the whole building, and I don't have to find my way, because they decided to go balls deep into it and be like, make it, a maze, and I gotta fight off these zombies and these zombies to get to the ultimate treasure at the end. I don't really care about that. I want your big buildings to be like that, like your oil refinery, or your construction site, or even your huge, crack a book, or even the Shotgun Messiahs. That's great, big buildings. That's perfect for this. Not your, everyday neighborhood house. All right. What else do we got? Any other questions pending? Uh, 0,
We've just got Libby's
Libby's.
backing up a server and trading in-game items for real cash.
Well, I guess we can move on to backups. We're almost 45 minutes in. Well, not really, but we spent the first few minutes just gabbing. Backups on a rented server. Well, if you have a good host, they should have a way in their control panel for you to be able to back up your server. I mean, doing it on your own server is fairly easy. You could use RAT. It's a good option if you're running Windows. You could have a script that does it, also in Windows or Linux, depending how you set up your Linux server. I'm sure there's a way in LGSM, but I am unfamiliar with it. That's a Silent Thunder domain. And or if you use a Lox script that he wrote to just run a single server. I mean, you can run multiple instances, but any changes you make to the config files will affect all the servers, not just the one. So that has an option in the script to run automated backups. But as for, how do you back up yours? You rent there, Karma.
Oh, my host has an daily offsite backups,
So,
so it just does it for me.
so did you go in and set a schedule to back it up, or is that something your host just automatically backs it up for you?
It just automatically backs it up offsite,
When I
which is
was
better than Bluefang because Bluefang just didn't do anything.
when I was renting out my server, they had they had another folder in the FTP server that was just backups, and it just backed up there every whatever, but they would only hold like 6 backups or something. So it's like, well, what if I want it every 2 hours? So I went down the rabbit hole of WinSCP and figured out how to use the scripts for that to set up an automated backup that will download from the FTP to just a machine here instead of just being limited in backups. And today actually I wrote a guide for it. So it can get a bit technical, but if you follow along and you're persistent enough, it will work.
So what Naz
I'll
is
post that in
saying
the
is make sure
main
you have
channel.
nothing else planned for your day to set this up. So if you want to go spend time with your significant other, tell them no. You need to back up your 7 days to die server or your players will be angry. Because as soon as a hacker comes on and destroys everything, you gotta answer to the call of your players immediately and restore the backup. So sorry, significant other, I don't have time for you. That'll go over like a lead balloon.
Sounds about right.
What exactly does the save world command do?
It saves the
Like,
current progress to your main.ttw. I believe it's the main.ttw. So that, like, if it crashes, it has something to go back to. Or if you suddenly abrupt stop it, corrupted. It's really to keep the world from getting corrupted. Not saying it doesn't happen, but if I was using CSMM and I had automated shutdowns and restarts happening, my custom command for it would include a save world first, then to wait up to 30 seconds, and then execute the shutdown BA. So to make sure, it doesn't get corrupted. It's not 100%
Okay.
effective, but that's the purpose of that command, is to try and keep it from getting corrupted.
Okay, because our provider does backups only on Sundays, but they do a save world every 15 minutes, and then Botman does a save world on shutdowns.
Yeah, it's to prevent corruption. Doesn't always work, but it is mostly effective.
I think Stylen said something about it used to do something, but now it doesn't because it's
Is it
I
antiquated?
don't know what yeah, I think he said something about they changed the way how the world is running. It's like it can't save its state. It's like a live. I don't know what I called it. He should be here. But I still do it every time I shut down the server, just out of habit, and why not? It's not going to cause any harm.
Yeah, we'll have to get with Sai on that and see what he has, and maybe he can post something in the regular brain drain channel as a more in-depth answer, since he has some inside knowledge of things and he does testing constantly. So his insight is missed today.
Yeah. For the folks that are renting, if they wanted to do backups via like FTE or
FTP.
FTP, full-time employee, no, FTP. Does anybody do backups that way?
We do.
Do you want to share your process for how you do that?
Oh, just log into the FTP and download the saves.
Oh, do you do it manually? You don't have a tool to do it automatically?
No, not
I
at
hear
all.
nothing.
Well, now you
I
have
did that a little bit, but I said, fuck that. I'm not doing that anymore.
Now you have a brand new tutorial written by Naz on how to do it with WinSCP. So
Yeah.
cancel your plans for Sunday, and now you have Now you have something to do.
Well, I've got more than
won't
more than
cause you to
myself.
It totally won't cause you to pull out your hair in frustration at all.
What I use is
My
iSCSI. So I have a tool that backs everything up to my NAS using iSCSI.
But are you renting or self-hosting?
I'm self-hosting.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about like services like Ping Perfect, Blue Fang, and stuff like that because apparently some of them don't like to back up. Some only back up on Sundays. You know, it makes any IT
That's
administrator cringe when they hear things like that.
yeah, I don't like it. That's one of the main reasons I self-host because I don't like how they take a lot of the control away from me.
we have a couple admins that have offered to self-host up until they discovered that we've been DDoSed up to 25 times.
Hmm.
Well,
That can
is
definitely.
that from self-hosting or is that through your rented provider?
No, our rented provider, our box gets DDoSed.
Well, that doesn't necessarily
And
mean that's your guy's server. That just means the host is getting DDoSed.
no, it's
It,
specifically ours. I've asked about that.
so who did you piss off?
Who knows?
Pipe dream.
Well, the beauty with the self-hosting is the ISP generally blocks most of that. So, you shouldn't really see a DDoS attack if you're self-hosting. I mean, I'm sure there's some jackass out there that's like, I'm going to do this because I think I'm cool and they angered me in some way and hurt my feelings.
Yeah, but that's how the Grandpa Secret servers got shut down because they got DDoSed. They were self-hosting. They even went over to Bluefang and were still getting DDoSed over there. So they
Uh,
had to shut down all their servers for that.
Grandpa Minion?
No, Grandpa Secret,
I don't know that
No
one.
luck.
Zombie Hunter.
I think
No.
Grandpa Minion's currently moving. That's why he's not hosting.
Mm. But Grandpa Secret, that was Zombie Hunter. That was another group of servers. They're Grindhouse now.
Oh, okay.
So they literally shut down their servers because they were getting DDoS so consistently.
Wow, they must have pissed somebody off.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, it's people overreact. It's a game. Listen,
Yes,
everybody loves the game, but get over it. It's a game.
yes.
Like I had a conversation about with my one friend last night after our D&D session, because we were talking about other role-playing games and we brought up miniatures, and he was a Warhammer 40K player, and when he was down in Virginia a little over a decade ago. I think there was a shop in the Fairfax Mall that he would go. They would do games of Warhammer and everything was a little it was by the rules, but rules keep changing and this and that. And one of the rules was if your little miniature figure didn't have this weapon, they couldn't use it. So there was one Sunday he was there, he was playing, and he ended up playing against this like 12-year-old kid. Now the kid was there all the time and everything and playing, and my buddy's like, well, this guy's going to throw a grenade. And the kid's pulling out, like, the old person rectangular magnifying glass, like, your figure doesn't have a grenade. And he's like, really? He's like, and he goes to be this, douchebaggy rules lawyer about the figure doesn't have this or that. And it's just friendly games. It's not like a tournament. It's just friendly games. And no one liked playing with this kid because he was such a rules lawyer. And it's like, what the hell? So my buddy's like, you know what? Fine, screw it, and starts packing up. Well, the manager from the store came over. He's like, well, that's what the rules are. And he's like, really, dude? He's like, I spend money in here, and I'm here all the time, and this is the answer you're gonna give, against. So, as my buddy's finishing packing up, the kid's dad comes back and goes, oh, did you win? And the kid goes, well, I made him quit. And then his dad, what do you mean? And then, he talks to my buddy, and my buddy goes through, this and that. And the kid's dad goes, it's a fucking game. Why are you acting like an asshole? I didn't raise you to be an asshole. So the dad ripped into this kid right in the store, like any good parent should do, mind you. But just like ripped into him, and the kid went around and apologized to everybody in the store. And the dad was like, listen, I'm sorry. I don't know what got into him. I don't know why he's like this, but but he made the kid apologize. And, the kid was in the wrong. It's like, listen, it's a friendly game, But he made a grown adult quit because he was being a douchebag in a friendly game. I mean, listen, if you don't like the way someone's running their server, there's literally thousands of other servers you can go play on. Like, you shouldn't have the immaturity to go DDoS someone's server that they're paying good money for or self-hosting, and, it's uncalled for. It's just an immature attitude. Listen, I love getting, passive aggressive and a little revenge here and there, but I'm not going to spend my time because it's too valuable to waste on taking down someone else's server because they were a dickhead to me once. Or I don't agree with their policy. That's just a maturity issue. And the fact that people out there like this exist, it makes me sad. But it's a game.
Yeah,
move on.
I'd also add that you should never be afraid of anything like that, because the worst they could possibly do is temporarily disrupt your server. They're not going to be DDoSing you for the rest of your life. They will either give up, or your host will thwart them, or your ISP will block them, or whatever. They literally cannot destroy your server permanently.
And the best thing is that they do think that they can do that. You are taking up so much room in their mind that they're literally focusing just on you, and you're the object of their obsession, and you don't even have to care about them. That's the best thing.
Yeah, I got someone on Facebook like that. We have differentiating views on certain things, and anytime I post things of a certain nature, and I am literally just trolling, because I know he has to put his 2 cents in. And my best friend was like, dude, he's like, I don't usually respond on Facebook, but I had to. Like, you set up a mansion in this guy's head. Whenever you post something, he has to respond. Like, you're living in his head rent free. So,
Don't feed the trolls.
Yeah, I do stuff because, one, I think it's funny. 2, I know it's wrong information. I'm doing it just to be a troll, just to see the reactions this guy will do. And I've straight up told him, I
like
post
my
this.
80-year-old dad.
Yeah. It comes down to I don't give a fuck. I don't. It's like, okay. Oh, I'm offended. That's your problem, not my problem. So.
It sounds like you have houses in each other's houses.
Yeah. Oh, I don't even pay him no mind. I don't,
Well, if you're literally, doing this on purpose to troll him.
Yeah, but I haven't even posted anything in a while. But like when I see something, it crosses my mind for a second. I guess I'll piss this guy off, or I'll get a reaction. Boop, and then I'm done. I'm on to my next thing. It's like I show up to pay the electric bill and then I'm out.
Anyhow.
Yeah. That was a little bit of a tangent. So backups on remote server. If your host doesn't provide it, if you can get in via FTP, use Naz's article with WinSCP to pull your hair out, but then have automatic backups. That's a pretty good, not so simple.
Yeah, or at the very least, back up your server manually on just regular FTP before like an update or something, just in case something goes wrong.
Or before applying any mods.
When you're doing it, are you backing up all like the region, the player info, the maps, and all that stuff? What if we just want to give a quick rundown on what your tool does or your walkthrough does?
Well, the walkthrough it's not, it doesn't, the script in there doesn't target any particular folder because it might be different depending on what host you have. So you just type in the path of the folders you want to back up, and normally if it's just a normal backup, you would just want maybe your saves, maybe your server config, maybe your mods folder if you for some reason don't have any other copy.
Why wouldn't you have one local? That's crazy.
But,
crazy talk.
Yeah, mostly just the saves folder.
Does that one set it up so that it only downloads if there's been a change to that file?
It creates a time-stamped full backup, So it will just be whatever files were in the save folder at that time, and it will save it as a folder and call it like my remote backup, and then it'll have a timestamp of when it was saved, so you can easily find the backup you want by looking at the times.
And that's including the date, right? It'll be like 12.6
Yeah.
2021 at 14:22 p.m. or whatever.
So some of the reasons why honestly, I rarely ever ran backups because it wasn't something I ran into very often that I needed a backup. And if I did need a backup, I'm like, oh, too bad. Because I'm an asshole owner, but also because my host didn't offer backups, and so for me, downloading everything that severely cut into like my bandwidth at home, and even if your server host, your own internet provider says you've got unlimited internet, there are still going to be some bandwidth issues, and eventually you do get to a point where you're using too much. So is that something that people that have data caps are going to have issues with?
Yes and no, because you can. The guide lets you set your own frequency, and there's also a speed option where you can limit the speed at which the backup downloads from the server, so you're not completely throttling your own internet every couple hours or whatever for half an hour. So if you've got a data cap, you can limit it to basically whatever you want. You could just do one a day, and that would be maybe 15 gigabytes, so 15 at most.
Heads up. So here's a question I have. If you have, if it's always downloading, let's say you don't do a timestamp, and it's always downloading to your local machine. If you set it up so it only overwrites if there's a new timestamp or a data size difference, so like you wouldn't necessarily need to download the regions every single time if there's nobody that has been entering them. Could you also set it up so at home you have files that are like the folders are backed up with a timestamp, but then the main file that you're downloading via the FTP, that one always downloads to the same thing, so that could possibly keep your downloads and your transfers kind of tight and clean. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know you can do like incremental and differential backups with things like Macram Reflect. So if you're self-hosting, that's quite easy. But when you're pulling off FTP, WinSCP has a lot of options. I haven't noticed something like that, but it could be in there. The guide is just basically a simple automated backup.
Got it.
Yeah, I don't know if you can actually get that in depth with doing the backup. As Naz said, usually the save folder, maybe the configs, and maybe the mods folder. Because it's like, oh, well, you want to save this region file that was accessed this time on, but this wasn't. That's a little more work than just saying, all right, back up the saves folder, which has the region files and the player files in it.
Yeah, but like FileZilla has the ability, so if I want to download something and it's overwriting an existing file to where it's saving, it will ask me if I want to, do you want to back up just the thing, like everything, or do you want to back up things that have a different timestamp or a different size? Overwriting the options?
Right, but here's an option. Say,
I think that. Sorry, Forrest. I think that's just a name overwrite thing. If it sees something with the same name, I don't know if it can see a file with the same name and see that it's been modified more recently than the one you have.
FileZilla
So
can.
it might. Yeah, I'm not sure if it does. It could.
I'm saying it does.
well, the function might
It
not
does
function
then.
the feature might not function as you think it functions. So, without actually going in depth for Naz to try it out, it's hard to say. It says it does this, but does it really, or is it a naming convention, or is it a...
Well, it skips files that have the same name that don't, like, oh, shoot.
Okay, so
I wanna-
here's the thing now. Say you have a new player to join your server, and they
Yes.
go into a region, and they don't actually do anything. They would just happen to be in the region at that point. So on your next backup, it skips that because nothing. That's still the same file
Nothing
size.
changed. Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, well then they start a base, and they do a little bit, but it still doesn't change the file size of the region. So that one doesn't get backed up anyway. So it's kind of
But it
like.
should change the type. There's here. I'm gonna take a screenshot.
So
I
what I'm
can-
saying is what they're doing isn't enough to change the file size of that region, so it won't get backed up.
if it was written at a different time, right?
So you're saying name,
If they
file size, or time. Because
if
here's
they
the thing
place
though.
a block in the region, it will appear as more recently modified.
Yes.
Right.
So true. Keep things a little bit more leaner for people that are trying to do backups from a host elsewhere, whether it's rented or what.
Well, I would suggest then is getting either a Dropbox or maybe a separate Google account for the Google Drive and see if you can have it back up to that so it's not taking space on your server and it's doing it over the internet versus using your bandwidth. I'm sure there's a way for something similar to happen like that.
You might be able to do it like that, but I think if you were to try to do it with WinSCP, it would do it by first downloading from your game server to the system that's running WinSCP,
And then upload
and then
it.
WinSCP would, yeah, so it'd still be downloading.
Yeah.
I just checked the saves folder on my current server, and it's 5.42 gigabytes, so it's
On what
still
day?
quite a lot to be backing up quite frequently.
On
But
what day?
if you were just backing up once a day over 30 days, that's 160 gigs.
Well, not unless you overwrite. Like when
Yeah,
I
if-
was used Rat that backup, I saved like the last 6 backups, but I back up every hour. So I'm backing up 6 hours, and then once it hits number 7, it rewrites number 1, and then starts the process over again. So I'm only, at your 5 gigs, I'm saving 30 gigs, but then again, that's a lot to download. But my bandwidth can accommodate that. If your bandwidth
Yeah,
can't, then your once a day might be enough, or maybe twice a day. Do it at midnight and noon.
that's another issue with WinSCP is it doesn't have. I don't think it has the ability. Well, it probably does, but don't have it in the guide that it deletes backups older than X amount of days. So you'll need some kind of system to clear out any old backups because it'll just keep downloading them until there's no space.
Yeah. Not everybody has the file storage I have either.
Speaking of which, there was at least one rogue reaction. Thanks to Livy. So.
Well, I'm pretty
Tell us what
sure
you're
that Dex caused that first, and then
Oh no.
and then took them away.
Don't be shy. Tell us about your storage.
I talk about my storage every episode. I'm throwing another drive in tomorrow morning to replace one of the older drives that's aging out. So, since you insist, I will have. Let me get a main tab here.
Takes so little to prompt you to do this.
I will be having 124 terabytes total, with somewhere around 78 terabytes free.
So just
I love it when you talk dirty.
Put it in your pants, Naz. Yeah, then I'll only have one more drive to replace out when drives get cheaper again, because that'll be a 10 terabyte that needs to be replaced instead of an 8.
Peter from the brain drain channel. You said that you save 2 weeks of backup saved every 30 minutes. Presumably that's
Yeah.
because somebody's hosting it themselves and it's a fairly easy situation to do.
Yeah, that's the server I'm adminning on. Yeah,
Mhm.
we save it pretty frequently because I fuck up with region resets sometimes. So
Which is why I don't do region resets, and I don't have to revert to stuff.
we have to because we're getting a lot of the regions folder is getting out of control. So on the next map, we're setting the entire map as a reset region and
Jesus.
just deselecting certain regions that people are allowed to build in,
Hmm.
and that should keep the file sizes down.
How big is so for 2 weeks every 30 minutes, which is insane. How much room of storage do you need for that?
It's usually it's less than a terabyte. Not that bad.
Yeah,
Like terabyte
yeah.
of storage is not expensive, like at all.
I'm just like thinking having to download that if I was doing it remotely.
Yeah,
I
it's
did
not
that a
bad.
couple times where I downloaded everything and I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that again. So that's why I like, once a day, hey, my host has got it. I very rarely run without EAC on, and that really helps hackers. And knock on wood, and this is not an invitation for anybody. I haven't had anybody come in and like wreck things too terribly that I can't fix fairly easily with admin tools.
We did a while ago. Um, he was in the hackers chat. Shadow posted it. We had someone come on and spawn the green bubble
Oh God,
that
I
add
hate those
remove
things.
tool,
Hmm.
and like he was just like raising and lowering the ground like in front of players and like spawning crap, giving stuff to people. It's that new hack that's undetectable by the bots. Was
You run do you have EAC on or off?
It's on. That's
Oh,
the
And they're able to
problem.
bypass. Oh God,
Yeah.
that is scary.
Yeah, it is.
Are you a PvP or PvE?
That server is PvE. I host PvP on my own server.
See, that's really surprising. An EAC protected server that's a PvE, like the PvPs seem to be the ones that get targeted by the twat waffles a lot more
Yeah.
often than the PvEs, so that's unusual.
Yeah, I think it's just because they're pissed off someone killed them.
yeah.
I'm extremely ban happy, so people don't usually bother the servers that I'm adminning on.
You're a ban hammer. You like to kick them off quickly.
Yeah. And like when someone posted in the hackers chat on here, I
Hmm.
usually just copy paste and ban like
Oh, gotcha,
straight
gotcha,
away.
gotcha.
Unless it's for something like breaking one of the server rules, I don't
Yeah.
usually bother with those. But for like the hacking, yeah, I'll just ban.
Hacking, sure, especially toxic behavior. That's one of the first ones that I'll do. I haven't been as
Yeah.
good about the hacking stuff as I used to be in the past, just because I plain old little EAC protected PvE server, and I don't tend to attract the bad people. Don't tend to, that is. Although I did
Knock
have to
on
turn off.
wood.
Yeah, trust me, I'm knocking on my head furiously right now. We're having because I installed the Darkness Falls mod recently, so I had to disable the EAC. Made me very, very, very nervous. And we did get at least one hacker, but Botman was able to flick them off as soon as they did something naughty.
Yeah, I think Smegs is working on updating that, but I was talking to him earlier about the new hacks, and he's like,
Hmm.
there is really nothing we can do until they switch away from Telnet, and
Hmm.
I don't know if they are going to do that. They really should, like use SSH or the web, whatever's the alternative.
Hmm.
But I don't see them doing
API.
that.
Yeah, API is the way to go. I whenever I do a server, my telnet is disabled. I don't my telnet even my control panel is disabled. I don't enable those because I use the API. So whether I'm using just a LOX or I'm CSMM with the CPM API, there's no reason to have telnet even open or on when you set up a server these days. Before all the
So we
APIs
could
came around, you had to, but not now.
So with Botman and CSMM, they can use API instead of Telnet. Is
Well,
that right?
well, CSMM does not use Telnet at all. It uses a LOX API to connect to the server. I imagine Botman has a similar setup now with the Botman API, but I know previously Smegzer just, used Telnet even after the API started becoming popular until more recently where he converted. Because Telnet is just going to spam and slow down the server. So the only one that still uses Telnet for remote is Rat that I know of. And that's
Bad company.
well, no, Bad Company's an API. Rat is a server manager. So
Yeah, but Rat uses Bad
BCM,
Company to
yeah,
run.
right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Trekken has actually coded it to not use the Telnet for remote now. I don't think there's been an update recently, and BP's not here to give
No.
us the update. So, if you're remote, like if you're running Rat on your computer and then you connect via Telnet through your rented host, then that's when it would use Telnet. But locally, if you're running a local Windows server, you can just install Rat and it doesn't need to use Telnet. But I don't know if Trekken has gone through and coded a connection using a LOX API as the standard besides BCM for the extra commands. Because BCM, while it's an API, it gives you more functionality. It doesn't give you the connectivity. Kata does that through a LOX server fixes. So he uses a LOX for CSM to connect. That's why you have to create a web token with a username and password. So none of those, only Rat, as I'm aware, is the only one that has the option to use Telnet. I don't know if Botman still has Telnet availability or not, but it makes no sense to use it because it just spams the server. So they all use.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I'll talk to Smegs about that because I really want to turn off Telnet because I hate it. I really, really hate it.
Now, do you have the Botman API installed on the server?
Yes, we do. And we're
So
using the API now.
yeah, but you're also using CSMM. Is that for different servers, or are you crossing?
No, we use them on the same server for the different functionality. They have a different prefix.
Okay.
And I've been through I've been through everything that both do, and I've assigned different jobs to different bots so they don't conflict.
All right, I want to stop that right for a second. Sam has just messaged us in the staff channel that he is now the father of a brand new baby boy. So we wanna wish Sam and his partner the very best with their new child, and I hope the child sleeps through the night sooner rather than later. So
In about 6 months.
hopefully sooner. That's why I said sooner. Maybe he'll get lucky and it'll be 4 months.
Bye, sleep pattern.
So he'll be able to join any time because he'll be up constantly now.
Well, he said he has 4 weeks of paternity leave coming, so
Awesome.
he should be able to join us for next week's show. So back to the Serenity. Yeah, talk to Smeg and see if he is running, through the API fully now, so you can disable Telnet. Because if he's not, then get on his case about doing it. Because Telnet is not the way.
Now with Rat, Rat does connect to the server using Telnet because when we hit the disconnect connect button, it gives the red error that shows that Telnet's been disconnected.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Yeah.
But they're both on the same server. Like, why does it need Telnet?
Well, here's the thing. If you're using Rat on the same Windows server, all right, because it's a Windows application, not a Linux application. So if you're running your servers on Windows, if you install Rat on the same machine that's running that Windows server, you can use the local server option. And you don't.
127001.
Or 192.168, whatever your thing is. You don't need to use the Telnet if it's on the local host. If it's on the same physical computer or VM, you don't need to use the Telnet. It'll connect directly with those files. But you need a LOX and you need BCM as part of the package to run Rat and I even think you can get away from BCM. I think that's for some of the commands and the custom
can't.
commands he uses.
My server owner likes being able to give items to players using rat. I hate it because it's funny, like a couple of days ago I accidentally gave someone the instant death pistol instead of a level 6 pistol,
Oops.
and he just got insta banned. I had to wipe his inventory, get him
Oh,
back
no.
on, and give all his stuff back to him manually. And because he had a full inventory of stuff, I was trying to use my lounge to give him stuff, and it wouldn't go through because it was over the stack limit. So I had to go there in person and drop stuff in his crate.
Well, if
It
yeah,
was,
the next best thing you could do is CPM, the give plus command. It'll put it right in their backpack as long as they have room in their
that's what I was
inventory.
doing.
Okay.
I was doing con give plus, but it wouldn't do it because it was over the stack limit
Well,
for
that'll
giving
that'll
stuff to people.
default and drop at your feet if your inventory's full.
Yeah, it wouldn't send it at all though,
Oh, really?
because the
Weird.
bot blocked a transfer that large.
Mm. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, as far as I know, there's no way to give container with full shit in it, which would be a great option for someone to do. You can, spawn, maybe like spawn the container, it would get an ID, and then you could, do give plus ID, and then whatever the item is.
We have that. We have the vote crates.
Yeah.
We
Mhm.
have custom ones of those. Like we can put our own items in it and then spawn it and then give it to players.
Okay.
But it requires a reboot to add new items to it, so we
Yeah.
don't use it very often.
Or what you do is you just set it up for when next time you restart the server, it'll automatically take effect.
The easier way is to use a custom command in CSMM and write a give plus command, and
Yeah.
they get you give them the command, they type it in, and then the bot will give all the items to them. But even that's a pain.
So we are coming up on the last
10 minutes.
15 minutes, last quarter. Yeah,
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
We should probably touch on the donations thing.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
do
saving
that.
that till the end. Yes, the end user license agreement that no one reads. You are allowed to accept donations, according to the EULA. You are not allowed to accept money to purchase in-game items. So someone cannot pay you in your local currency directly and go, okay, give me a POI, or give me this gun, or give me this ammo. That is against the agreement. I truly think it's a dickhead thing to do, the way to generate money. And including with that is, charging people for mods. So, to me that's what's the word I'm looking for? Despicable. So if someone says, "Hey Peter, here's $5. I want you to give me the level 5 AK-47." That's a no-go.
Done.
That's
Here you go. Have it.
right. Now, as far as donations go, I know Flooded has some donors. I've always said no to donations for the most part, for like 99% of things. And I've had people like, "Hey, listen, if you need help buying something, just let us know." I'm like, "Nope, nope, nope, nope." The reason I didn't do that and tend not to do that is because I'm going to get that one asshole who's like, "Well, I gave you money. I'm now entitled." And I don't, and go fuck yourself. So, good thing I marked this as not children appropriate when I upload the video.
Too late. I already dropped the F-bomb, so.
So what is okay is having donator packages. All right. So depending if you do your donations by month or bi-weekly or whatever, is you can, give some kind of benefit like a reserve slot. Hey, listen, we know our server gets busy, or donator. You have a donator slot. You will always be able to get on our server. Some schmuck will get kicked off. If you want to give them server manager currency from whether it's Botman or CSMM, it's like, hey, listen, you'll get 2,000, server manager currency, whatever coin did you call it, Zom coins or whatever, Z coins. You know, you can do that because if you have custom
I
commands
think
set
I
up,
think I
then
think that one might be a bit more grey, the server manager currency, because you can
it's
a lot
not,
of
and
times you
it's
can
not.
use that to buy in-game stuff. So
Well,
it's kind of a middleman.
well, yes, yes, you can. Like the only thing I ever set up in my shops, for the most part, is the exchange of Z coins, we'll call it, into Dukes. But then again, I don't make it cheap either. You know, for every, it's like a 10-to-1 ratio, maybe. So for every 10 server mats, or I might even do 100 to. I have to see. It's expensive. So yeah, might be a ratio of 10. So for every 1,000 Z coins, I throw up. You know, you can get 100 Dukes or casino tokens, whatever you want to call them. So, and it's not easy to earn that much in my game. You know, if it's a PvE server, you get like 20 per zombie kill, and you get 1 for every 5 minutes played on the server. So if it's PvP, you get 10 for every zombie kill, and 25 for every player kill, and 1 for every 5 minutes played on the server. So I offer that, and in the rare instance, I've had someone ask me, well, I'm having a hard time finding brass. So I will pick a few of the brass items, maybe a radiator or, a faucet, and put that in there. But again, not cheap. You know, it might be, 250 Z coins to get one piece of, to get a brass faucet. It might be like 400 to get a radiator. You know, I don't make it cheap. It's there, as an option, but I usually don't use the shop. So what I do charge Z coins for the commands. I have a pack command that I use through CPM that I create a custom command. When you die, you type pack, you go get your pack. That's 50 coins. You know, you want to set when you set up your initial teleport location. It's 50 coins to set it up, and it's 20 coins to use. So I do, like, if I had donors and I had donor tiers, I would give a slight discount to use those commands as well, because you're supporting the community by donating money to keep the server running. So I do think there should be some kind of benefit. I do not give out actual in-game items for the server currency. Like I said, I'm strict with my shop. I'm strict with that. You know, I want people to explore. I want people to loot. I want people to go out into the world and play. I don't want them like, oh, well, I need these few pieces. Let me just go to the shop and buy them. To me, that takes away fun out of the game of the exploration and trying to find it. Then I can easily get this.
You know, I think the EULA kind of lays it out as if you're trying to turn the server into a money-making machine, no. But if you want to, if you want to let your players be able to contribute to the cost of running the servers, that's okay, and you can reward them as a thank you for helping keep the server running by things like foresaid a reserved slot or maybe a discount and maybe a different color in Discord or whatever. But you can't set up a store in game that charges real money for items.
There is a server community out there that does that, and
Yeah, there's
it's very disappointing that it's basically pay to play or pay to win, and that's pay to win or pay to play is against the EULA.
yeah there are rule breakers out there, and it's a bit of a difficult situation because if they're based in the US, then sure the pimps can go after them if they really want to, but if they're based somewhere else in the world, then it gets a lot more complicated in law because you're then dealing with two sets of uh, laws, and if God help you, there happen to be in China, then you're basically shit out of luck because China will not help you shut them down.
And that's why most hackers come out of China.
Mm.
But yeah, it's it can be a thin line depending on what you're doing. So, like I said, if it's pay to play or pay to win, that's the no-no. That's, the very basic way I can explain that. Kind of like how some games have loot boxes that you pay real money for. Well, the EU doesn't like that, and a few other countries don't like that, and major AAA game publishers and developers have gotten spanked on this. Like, I think one of the FIFA games had loot boxes, and I think the EU's like, well, no, this is gambling. You can't guarantee what you're going to get in there. It's a risk that they're paying money to get something. So
The EA's greed came out in full that day. The EU's like, no, you cannot do this. This is wrong. You're going to have to stop. And EA is adamant, calling up all its lawyers. No, we're going to continue this.
and then they're going to start charging you more to pay for the fees for their lawyers.
Oh yes.
So, if it's something like that, my cousin, he hates loot boxes and stuff. Like, I play PUBG. God help me, I don't know why I still do. But I have some keys, and I have some crates that don't match up. But, what PUBG did is, well, now everything is buyable with, their BP money or their G coins, which you can convert cash for G coins, which, again, microtransactions, that's a no-no in 7 days. But you can actually earn G coins in game. Kind of like if you guys are familiar with War Thunder, you have your Golden Eagles and your Silver Lions, I think it is. You have a way to earn them in game, but you gotta grind. So, basically 7 days comes down to no microtransactions. That's the way of pay to win, pay to play. To me, that takes the fun out of the game. I'm not going to say I haven't gone out and like, oh man, there's this cool skin I want for this weapon in PUBG and paid like 5 cents for it. I have. I'm like, oh, I like this skin. I'm okay with that. But the gamble is, whatever you get, you're not sure what you're going to get. And I guess it's, to them, it's like a lottery. You still get something, but you're not guaranteed to get what you want. I'm not sure on what their guideline and views are on that. But, yeah, paying for in-game items with real-world currency is definitely the no-no.
Okay, we've only got a
Yeah.
couple minutes left, but I want to cut in. Spectral, do you want to make your announcement now?
Yeah.
Not to cut anybody off, sorry, Ness.
All right. So our next week's guest, and time is still up in the air. I believe it'll either be 2 or 3 p.m. Eastern, which would be 7 or 8 p.m. UK time, will be Kane from Darkness Falls. He has agreed to come on. I just got to check with his schedule for the timing, but he said as long as we give him notice that either one of those times should work. So next week's show will be, we'll touch on modding and overall Darkness Falls. And if you have questions for Kane, which I'm sure many of you might, start getting them ready, and then we can post them in the Brain Drain channel when we right around maybe a half hour before we get started or once we're going. And
I'll try to keep track of them if you have to post them sooner.
yeah, if you need to post them sooner, just at Karma, and she will put them in a spreadsheet because she loves doing things like that.
Because I'm all technically oriented.
Yes. So if hopefully we'll get a little bit more people next week with having Kane on and discussing Darkness Falls, and just we can throw some general modding questions at them and whatnot. So next week will be about modding and Darkness Falls. So no vote on what we're talking about next week. It's already been predetermined.
No vote. Yes.
So anybody have any last minute questions on any subject matter at this time? Bueller? I'm going to get a soundbite of that.
Think of anything.
So
I would never do a soundbite. Never.
Spicoli! Alright, so I guess with that, then we'll sign off for tonight, and then we'll see hopefully everyone and more next week. Again, congratulations to Sam on his newborn son. That's going to be it for me.
Same here. I'm going to go back and play Ark. like any good
Nine
responsible
BMG.
owner.
And then we'll let Naz go to bed because he's a tired old man.
He stayed up for the entire hour and a half. We're very proud of you.
Yes.
I
And I
literally
can't go
cannot
back to
fight
sleep.
All right, everyone.
I'm up now.
It was a good show. Thank you for joining us. And if you haven't, subscribed to the YouTube channel. And we will see you next week.
Bye bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.